Let's go, let's go. Aye, people wanna hate every day, it's okay.
My name is Jesse May. I lived life on the edge from the age 13 through 21, which led me to serving time in federal prison. These stories are from that time, my time in federal prison, and my life after as I built a successful excavating business. I don't condone or recommend any of the behavior from my younger years, but if you'd like to hear the whole story, subscribe Reckless Success. All right, welcome back to Reckless Success. So today we're going to talk about my old neighbor that I had a great time with, but he was definitely an interesting person. So when I'm about 16, a new guy moves in the neighborhood across from my parents, and we'll call him Jeremiah. And I think he had a wife at first.
Oh.
And or a girlfriend. They split up. So I peep game, me and my sibling peep game that he's selling something.
Lots of traffic at his house.
Yeah, there's lots of traffic.
Your poor parents.
I know, and they lived in a pretty nice house.
Yeah.
And this house across the street, there was two of them that would always give them headaches. So anyways, I meet Jeremiah, we'll call him, and find out that he's selling weed. So I'm like, all right. So, and he's fronting it. And this is like, I'm 16, 17. This ditch, weed that was like, when you would break it up, you'd have as much stems and seeds as you would usable stuff. It was horrible.
Ew.
I mean, you could smoke a fucking pound of it and it wouldn't get you high. Should have been tobacco.
But you wanted some anyway.
I wanted some of it, especially since he had fronted to me and I didn't have no money.
Right.
So, anyways, one day we're over there and he tells us, he says he has two houses. He had bought another house and put it in his sister's name. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I've got 13 credit cards with a $10,000 limit.
What?
Yeah.
How do you even get that much credit card debt?
He built up his credit, and the story is
and
crazy.
Two houses. Like, you think he'd be a pretty nice, upstanding kind of guy.
You think he'd be ready to like do something, but no.
Yeah.
Instead, well, he was disabled as well because he had, I don't know if it's schizophrenia or what, but he would just every few months, and he didn't do any hard drugs at all. He was on like lithium and all this other stuff for whatever
to treat some sort of illness.
So he never done any like speed that I knew of, but he smoked weed. So he's like, I've got these credit cards and $130,000. If you guys will help me fix up the other house, because he put them in his sister's name. He's like, well,
why?
Because he planned to file bankruptcy. He's planning on cashing these cards out. Why he wouldn't just go get a loan, I don't know. This was the great idea we come up with at this age.
This is a random Tuesday when you're 16. Like, this is what you were doing?
I'm 16. He's probably like 29, something like that. My brother's hanging out with me. And, I mean, we didn't have nothing going on anyways. We were just hanging out in Mom's basement.
Yeah.
So he's like, I've got this money. If you'll help me fix up the house, we'll spend it. You can live in one of the houses as a roommate, and it was a house in Carbondale, and he always had like 6 pounds. So that was, even though it was ditch weed, it was worth it, to smoke all the time for free. So we agreed to it, and like right away, let me think about this. So we hadn't moved in yet, and I'm over at Mom's, and Dave comes over, and he's like, hey man, we're gonna go down to Mardi Gras, and I'm like, when? He's like, right now, we just seen it on the news. So I'm like, hell yeah. And he's like, you want to go? We didn't have a job. We didn't have no money. Only money we had was...
High school dropout at this point.
Yeah.
Like, no G.
Only money I had was whatever I was peddling that ditch weed for, and it wasn't much.
Wow.
So he's like, you want to go? I'm like, hell yeah. And we're driving like an old 80s style Blazer, like the little ones,
Yeah.
Like the square two-door. Yeah. So we drive it. We just hop in it. We take off. I can't remember.
You just take off?
Yeah.
You're still like that.
Right.
I could never. I'm a planner, and Jesse will like call me on a rain day and be like, we're going to go to Gulf Shores today. And I'm like, no, we're not. We're not doing that. And we've done that. We've just gone. Right. And I've never been so stressed out in my life. But anyways, it's just funny that you've always been that way. I would never.
I'm very spontaneous.
So there you had to Mardi Gras with $5.
So we had to with $5. No, we had credit cards.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we were living good.
You had a lot of money.
Yeah, we had a lot of money. So we get down to Mardi Gras, and I had no business being out of town at that age down there doing that. But I had my brother's ID because he was 5 years older, or one of them, and then he had one for him.
Oh man.
And I was walking down Bourbon Street and I had one of those draft beers that said huge ass draft on it. And it was like 3 or 4 draft beers in one cup, a big plastic cup. I'm walking down Bourbon Street and all of a sudden the like crowd parts and all these plainclothes guys come and grab me and push me up against the wall. What? So my brother and Jeremiah, they bounce off and the cop's like, how old are you, son? And I look like a fucking 12-year-old at that time. So I'm like, I'm 21. And they take me over and they got a paddy wagon in the alley and they're taking me to jail down in Louisiana. And I'm like, God. Damn. And he's like, let me see your ID. And I pulled it out and gave it to him. Well, my brother was 23 and I told him I was 21.
Oh my God.
And we didn't look that much alike. I mean, it might fool the guy at the convenience store, but the cop's like,
not the Mardi Gras police. No,
yeah.
They're going to be like, come on, dude.
Right. So, I was like, here. So I tell them I'm David. And they're like, you're going to the paddy wagon. They said, you said you're 21 and you're 23. And I was like, I'm just saying I'm like 21 of age to drink.
Like, when's your birthday? And you're like, I have no idea.
Right. Well, his birthday's the same day as mine, so I know all that. But it didn't pass. I mean,
whose birthday's the same day as yours?
Dave's. It's 23rd. Mine's 23rd. He's September.
But I know. I was just joking that you probably didn't know when your brother's birthday was, but
right.
Never mind. You do know. That's good. I'm glad. You don't know anyone else's birthday in your family,
right.
So I didn't think you'd know his. Anyway.
So, I tell them, I'm like, all right, I lied. I'm Jesse. That's why whenever I got indicted, it said Jesse May, also known as David May.
Stop it.
In my indictment.
Because they had that history on you that that was your alias.
I done it twice. Yeah. And both times I got caught. So anyways, funny. I'm like, all right, I lied. I'm Jesse. And they gave me a ticket for it. They let me go. Oh. I was back in the bar. I didn't go anywhere. They just gave me like an expensive ass ticket, like $600. That's why when I went to Mexico, I had to go around Louisiana.
You said that.
Because I had a warrant and
so there must be like thousands, I mean hundreds of thousands of people that might have warrants in Louisiana where they got ticketed at Mardi Gras and then they just never came back.
Yeah, it's not extraditable. So
that's
if they pull me over here, they won't say nothing about it. But if I'm in the state of Louisiana,
then you'd go to jail.
Then they'll take you to jail.
Imagine how much that costs. That ticket
I know.
Is now.
I was thinking about it when we were down at Mardi Gras a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's funny.
Anyway, so they let me go. We go back. It was the first time I'd ever had any type of weird, we'll call it like gay experience, because I didn't know that Bourbon Street turned to the gays at like the other end of it or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're going down Bourbon Street and we get down there and it's like all of a sudden it just starts thinning out and it's all men, and I don't think much about it. There's bikers around with big beards and we go in a cafe to get something to eat. And I'm sitting there in the cafe, and it's me and my brother and Jeremiah, and they're facing me like this. And I'm sitting there drinking. I'm looking around, and I'm like, why the hell's everybody staring at me? As I'd go to suck on that straw, everybody's staring. And about that time, the cook come out of the kitchen, just waving his arm. And I looked and I said, guys, we're in a fucking gay cafe. It was like a restaurant, but there wasn't no girl. It was all gay guys. We run outside. This is all crazy. So we run outside, and I run right into these 2 big bikers that are like 300 pounds, and they're fucking standing outside kissing, big old beards. I'm like, whoa, I just seen this. Then I see this.
And again, we're from small town Illinois, so
yeah,
it's not like Jesse would just be in shock being a young kid that's never experienced.
I just had never been
culture
around.
Shock.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know, at that age, you probably have never met someone who's gay. So you're like, what is going on?
No.
Yeah.
So we turn and we get a block off because like we don't even want to go down Bourbon Street now. We realize that we're in like the heart of it. We got into deep in there. So we turn, we go a block off, and we're going up the road. And we walked by this guy, and he had his hood up. He was a little bitty dude, and there was like 3 other dudes, and they were in like a stoop, and it smelled horrible, like shit. Like I think they were definitely, the little dude was just, I don't know what was going on, but it was weird. He had his hood down, looking all weird.
Ew.
I was in like the Twilight Zone trying to get the hell out of here.
Sounds like the
I could not
Twilight Zone.
get away from it. So that was my first gay experience, was Mardi Gras. I had no clue. I'd never seen a gay person before. So not that I've got anything against gay people, but it was just like you said, culture shock.
Yeah.
Because out in the open, there's these biker dudes, and I'm like thinking they're biker dudes. and they're just going at it. I also seen my biggest titties I've ever seen in my life at Mardi Gras. They, because we ended up getting up on a balcony, so we're sleeping in our car, our Blazer.
God.
Yeah, we're there for a few days.
You didn't get a hotel with the credit cards? Like, come on.
No, we were still scheming. So we were going to sleep in the Blazer. You know, we didn't want to like push too hard on the credit cards. We just started this, so we want to ease into it. We're just happy to be in New Orleans.
Yeah.
But we did meet a guy that had rented a whole balcony and upstairs by himself.
Oh.
What I think we had Ritalin, and we told him we'd give him some Ritalin, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you guys can stay here." And these things are like $3,000 or something for the weekend.
Oh, I can't imagine.
So now we've got a place with a balcony. I'm
for like the parade. That's fun.
So
that's cool.
It was cool. But anyways, my biggest titties I'd ever seen in my life. This woman pulled up her shirt, and I'm up on the balcony looking down, and she pulled up her shirt, and she reached and she grabbed a handful of titty, and I swear, listen, she pulled it up and she reached again with this arm and pulled this. I mean, this titty was like this big. I could not believe it. It was so big. We were chucking beads at her. But yeah, there's some big old titties down there. And then it's also kind of weird because it smells like fish real bad. It smells horrible. The whole,
Ew.
You know, I don't know if it's the ocean right there. Or
Probably
if it's just
part of it.
What's going on.
Well, and people are just out
partying and throwing shit on the ground.
People are puking, peeing in alleys.
Yeah.
People are nasty, man. So, you know, like when you put that many bars in one little area and it's a huge party, people are going to be gross. It's going to start to stink. It was pretty gross. So we come back from Mardi Gras. I've got a ticket down there. I have no clue to this day if I have a warrant or not. You know, you actually found the ticket. Yeah, I have this weird stash of like things Jesse gave me over the course of our relationship. Which our relationship, we dated for a couple years, like we had said, like at the end of my high school age into college, and then we split up. And I finished college. I moved to Florida. He got married. And had a child and then got indicted, you know, and all that. So we were kind of on separate paths for like 8 years, but kept in touch. So at some point, I'm sure this was all back when we dated and he was kind of still off his rocker, a little doing bad stuff. He would give me weird things. For example, his Mardi Gras ticket. Like, why do I have that? So I found not that long ago, looking through totes, trying to, you know, declutter our stuff, like these love letters he wrote me and this Mardi Gras ticket and just weird things that you like. Why would you give me that? Like, why?
Because I knew you were going to be my wife one day and you'd hold on to it.
I guess. It's just kind of funny that we have it.
Never been back. Well, I have been back, but never been in trouble since down there. I could talk for days with the roommate because we ended up moving to Carbondale, living in this house.
You did move there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we went hard. Like, it started off. We were always scheming to make more money, even though we had these credit cards. But what we were doing is we weren't. He was. He would go to the bank and do cash advance on a credit card, then pay all the minimum balances. So we did this to work this scheme all the way up until it was completely maxed out. So we're working on the house. Like, mainly we built a damn throne chair, like a king chair out of Budweiser boxes.
What?
We did that for his uncle.
That's not working on a house.
No. His uncle was a drunk, so his uncle shows up. He's going to stay with us. I mean, this house was like 4 or 5 bedrooms, but unfinished. I'm sleeping on an air mattress on the floor. So we're like, our next scheme, you know, it's a college town, and there's always people at house parties huffing nitrous. So we're thinking. I never saw anyone
huff nitrous at college parties in this college town.
Really?
And I actually went to college there.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever seen them with the balloons at the house parties?
I have never in my life seen someone huff anything at a party.
Must have got busted. The guy we were getting it
from. That's funny.
Jesse's
parties and my parties were not the same college parties.
Yeah. So at the college town, everybody was huffing balloons. You'd sell a balloon for like $2 or $3.
That's hilarious.
And you can't huff car nitrous because it's got sulfur in it. So if you try to inhale it, it's going to burn your lungs. So we looked up on the internet and we found this pump that would siphon out the sulfur and turn it to medical nitrous on the internet for like $1,200.
Jeez.
So we order the pump, we order tanks. We're like really going to try to go make $2 a balloon or whatever. So
always the entrepreneur.
Always the entrepreneur. It took a long time to find a field that was legal and, you know, a little bit more lucrative. So we buy this pump And we go to Mack Weld at the time, which was just like a welding shop. And we're like, hey, we need some car nitrous. And they're like, no, we don't sell that. The only guy around here is in Carbondale. Call him. So we're like, all right. And we've got an 80-pound tank, not one of the little 10-pound tanks. We had the big, like, settling tank. So another thing we done was we went and took out $3,500 for a cash advance. And we went to Missouri. We bought a Southwestern Bell truck with the utility bed on it.
What?
Because it had a tank holder. Like, it had, for oxygen settling, it had the slides to put the tank in. Because, like, how the hell are you going to tote a tank of nitrous around that big? So we're trying to look professional, you know? And we go to this guy's place. And it's like a house with a big building in the back. There's like 17 of these big tanks lined up. We tell this guy that we had a cigarette boat. Like, how we come up with this shit, I have no clue, because this was before the internet.
Yeah, this is before you could just pick up your phone and Google stuff. Yeah. I don't know how you'd come up with this either.
Well, we were trying to figure out, because if we tell him we're getting car nitrous,
yeah, you don't know why.
He's going to be like, why are you going through so much car nitrous? So we're thinking of a big engine or multiple engines. So we tell him that we have a cigarette boat that we got nitrous out and it burns through it. And he's like, okay, because we got a big ass tank. He fills this tank for like $1 or $2 a pound. It's an 80-pound tank, so we don't spend hardly no money. We take it back to the house. We're getting ready to run it through this pump that we have no clue what's, if it'll work.
Oh my God.
And the dude's like, let me test it. So he tests it and he's like, it doesn't hurt him. It's medical nitrous. So we'd accidentally stumbled upon a guy that was selling all the nitrous for the parties over there. That's probably what happened, is he got busted. But and it was medical nitrous, and his dad, it turned out, was a dentist, and he was getting it through his link or whatever, right? So we ended up getting this tank filled. Like, we'd take it to parties. We would go home, we'd flip it upside down on the stairs and fill up 10-pound tanks and transfer it into there. Then we go to these parties, and I don't think we ever made any money. We were just like... Yeah, I don't think that we made I mean, we might have made like $5 off of it, literally, because we were
you just want to be able to hang out at the parties. You're like, cool guys.
Yeah, everybody loved us. So, like, I'm just passing this shit out. It was my money anyways.
Why do people do that? Like, what does it do to you?
You ever huffed air duster? No.
No. I've never huffed anything.
Well, if you don't know what it's like and you've huffed air duster, it's very similar to that.
Does it make you...
It makes
like tired? Are you like high like weed?
It only lasts for about maybe 15 seconds. You inhale it, and this is just hearsay. I don't know nothing about this. You inhale it, and then it's just everything's like wah wah wah. And you kind of start tripping a little bit, and it lasts for about 15 seconds, and you're fine. It was crazy. Yeah, I actually got a good story about it. I'm gonna tell it. So we had to try it out. You know, you're not supposed to get high on your own supply, but we had to see what was going on with it. So we try it out. And I remember we had one of those things on the tank that's like blows up balloons. So you just put the balloon on it, fills it up. And it's daytime. This was like Friday, we got the tank. And now it's like Sunday. And this house is covered in balloons. The table's like smashed. I mean, it's just been a weird 2-day trippy like thing. We went through the whole 80 pounds. And I remember my mom coming over. It's middle of the daytime. Bangs on the door, and I answer the door, and I've got like 3 or 4 balloons in between my fingers, and I'm like, Mom, and she's like,
God.
She's like, Jesse, I can hear that tank across the street. It's like summertime, windows open, you know. She's like, I can hear that tank from across the street, and I was like, come on in. I was like, we're having a party. And I look back, and the whole house is just covered with busted balloons, like pop balloons, like a layer across the whole floor everywhere. And like Jeremiah's like stumbling through the hallway, she's yelling at me. She's like, "You're gonna go to jail," and I'm like, "Come on, it's a party." And she ended up stomping back home. But yeah, I shouldn't have done that, but we did things we do.
So after you did that, then you started taking it to parties to sell it,
giving it away. We had a party. We had a party one time. We thought we were gonna have our own party. All of it, gave it away. I could go on for a long time about Jeremiah, because this was like I didn't have my license then, so I'm 18. I must have. How did that work out? Because I didn't have my license, or did I? I don't feel like I did, because I was walking down the street to Burger King and working. at the Burger King on Oakland.
Oh, in Carbondale? I didn't know you worked at Burger
for
King
like
in
a few
Carbondale?
weeks. I don't know if I even got a
Hilarious.
paycheck from them. But so we're over there, and Jared. Okay, so we had like 6 pounds. What we'd do is we'd go to Chicago to Cicero, and there was a bunch of Spanish females there. That's who the people in Mexico had selling the ditchweed in Chicago.
Oh my God.
They would front us like 6 pounds at a time, and they couldn't speak no damn English. We would go up there. We're a bunch of little fucking kids from Southern Illinois with this dude that's got schizophrenia that loses it all the fucking time. And I'm riding in this Blazer like going to Cicero.
Oh,
so
Lord.
we'd get this smoke, and that's how we were supposed to like be paying for our day to day. But what we really did is just smoked it all. And
Oh my God.
the dude he was on this pill, so he was really tough because he had been to the loony bin so many times. He knew all the moves and the holds, and I'm just a little kid. So they give us this pill. So what he would do is he would stay up for days, like 3 days. He'd be hammering. I'd wake up in the middle of the night. He's in there hammering and shit, cleaning. But it wasn't on speed. It's just because he was going off the deep end.
Oh no.
And the doctors gave us these Zyprexas that melted. And like once it hits saliva, they start melting, you know?
Okay.
And when he goes crazy, we're supposed to hold him down and give him these things.
So you guys are like going to his doctor's appointments with him?
No, it's like his uncle told us this
So
is
his
how it's
family's
gonna
like,
be.
if you guys are going to hang out with him, here's the
Yeah.
protocol.
So, but I could never do it. Like the dude would stay up. So like,
He wouldn't take the
yeah, we're about to
medicine.
try to hold him down, but this dude's like, he's all crazy and knows all these like little trick moves, and now he's got me in a chokehold. I'm like, damn it, Jeremiah, let go. You know.
Oh wow.
So, well, I never took any of the pills, but we could say there was probably a 6-month period there that I don't remember. They were like tranquilizers. They would just knock you out, plumb cold.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyway, so one time it's coming to an end. Now we've spent 115,000. We've only got like 15,000 left, and cards
What
are
do you
starting.
spend in the, like, what are you buying?
Just whatever the hell we wanted, you know.
Like going
it was
shopping
6
and stuff?
months. Just food and gas. I mean, we were just running wild and doing what we wanted.
That's
and
crazy.
yeah, nobody worked. Nobody had a job, but we had all this access to this money, and we were peddling pot. So we just got like 6 pounds, and like the next day, so his Blazer was a stick shift. Second gear went out, or let me think about it. He only had first, second, and third gear. Fourth and fifth had went out. So like any of your highway speed gears, he didn't have.
Oh.
So he's got to take it to the shop. Well, he starts acting crazy. Me and Dave's like, oh, he's going off the deep end. Now he's moved his uncle in that's sitting upstairs on a fucking throne of beer Budweiser boxes.
Oh my God.
This dude's like the biggest drunk. Cans everywhere. He's like 300 pounds smashing Budweiser. He brought his cousin, and he was crazy. He brought his cousin to live with us because he knew things were like going south. I don't know if he was trying to run us off, but me and the cousin and my brother all hit it off because dude's losing it. So then while his cousin and his uncle are there, his cousin starts banging our roommate, the crazy dude's girlfriend, which is this
Okay.
cute little bank teller, right?
A bank teller?
Yeah. So the cousin starts banging his cousin's girlfriend.
Ooh.
So we're like, this is about to turn bad. And this is
Yeah.
about when he went crazy. So we're like, this is about to turn bad. The uncle found out.
Budweiser uncle in the
big,
throne?
Yeah, the big King Budweiser
Okay.
throne guy upstairs finds out that the cousin's banging her, and he tells her he's going to tell unless he gets some. It went downhill quick. Like this whole setup that we had going on went downhill. Dude went, and it's probably what made him crazy.
Did he find out that his cousin and his uncle were sleeping with his girlfriend, you think, or no?
He literally left like within a week or two of that all starting. So
That's so gross.
yeah, it was a mess.
Sounds like it.
So one day he's just gone. We wake up, credit cards are starting to run out. Wake up, Jeremiah's gone. And I'm like, where do you think Jeremiah's at? I don't know, his car's gone. He couldn't go far. He's only got first, second, and third gear. Like a fucking month goes by. We've done smoked all the pot. We don't have the credit cards he does. We had like a couple that were in the safe. We're running low on money. We've been selling this pot and using it to live off of. And like a month later, I get a phone call and it's Jeremiah. And I'm like, hello. And he's like, hey, you got to help me. And I'm like, where are you at? And he's like, I'm up in Michigan in a cottage.
Michigan?
How the fuck he got there? I have no clue. He's like, I'm in a cottage. So he was calling it a mental institution a cottage. And I'm like, Jeremiah, I'm like, you just got to be cool, dude. Like, whatever you're doing, quit, act normal, sleep. He wouldn't sleep. That was his thing. He just would stay up forever, and then he starts freaking out.
Like anybody would. So, like, but then, if he's making his mental illness worse by staying awake
right.
for a long time.
And he would, like, refuse to sleep. So I'm like, just calm down and don't say nothing stupid. And he said, Jesse, I can't sleep. And I was like, why? And he said, because the vampires scratch my eyeballs. And I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, it's going to be a while, buddy. I'll see you in a couple of months. You're going to be there a while. So another like 3 weeks goes by. He shows up. We're still living in this house.
He comes back.
He came back. He's in the Blazer. It's all 5 gears now. Somewhere along the line, he'd got his transmission fixed. And he comes back. We went to a movie, the three of us, me, him, and my brother. And at the movie theater, we walked out, and there was these two, like, older women.
It's funny you're doing normal friend things now. Like, after everything you guys had been doing, you're like, let's go see a Sunday matinee.
Well, like at this time, there was movies like Super Troopers, Austin Powers, all that funny shit.
It's still funny that you guys went to the movies together, like normal friends would.
Right. So maybe we were thinking, let's take him to a movie to get him calmed down or something. We leave this movie theater, and there's these two, like, 70-year-old women walking the next lane over. And this dude just takes off running and runs out in front of him and is like, whoa.
What?
I'm like, oh, my God, what is he doing? So we go get him. He's like, I'm just joking. I'm like, no, dude, that was weird. Don't ever do that. And that was pretty much like the end of it. I never seen him snap out of it. Although I did see him again. Well, I mean, we went through all that money.
Did he still live across from your mom?
Yeah. He lived in Carbondale. Now we go back to there, and he was renting that house out. That was his plan.
Okay.
So he was going to file bankruptcy. He was going to live in one house, rent the other house out, and that's what he thought he was going to live off of, because the shitty house we were working on was paid off. Okay. So that's what he was going to live off of. It was a horrible idea. Real quick, though, before we get on to business talk, I had a TTR 125 dirt bike. And, as the dope man, I get all these leads. Like the pawn shop guys, they were all doing dope. So when anything good come to the pawn shop, they would call me. What? And I would get it. So this dude calls me, and he's like, it was a year-old TTR 125 dirt bike. He's like, I got it $400 or 4 grams. And I'm like, I'll take it. So the dirt bike's a little bit too small for me. I'm riding it, and I'm jumping it, I'm breaking spokes. It was a good little engine on it. So I ended up buying a go-kart. I've always done stupid shit. So I ended up buying a go-kart, extend the frame. This is like a little kid's go-kart, the ones that you sit on. And I extend the seat area, the frame, like the legs, a foot. And I don't remember what welding buddy I had that did this.
How? We
extended it a foot. We put a clutch pedal on it. So it had clutch, brake, gas like a car. And then I put that TTR 125 motor on it, and we put a solid axle because a go-kart's just pulling one tire. Mm-hmm. So if you take off, it's just leaving a rut. So we put a solid axle on it. I put tires off a tiller. It's probably my stepdad's tiller. I'm out back ripping his tires off and putting them on my go-kart. And this go-kart was like the wickedest. I mean, it had a clutch. I had a Hurst T-shifter to shift it, and I'd just sit out in the road and cut figure eights. And I remember I seen Jeremiah one day, and he pulled up with his cousin, but I'm out in front of my parents' house. God, they must have hated me. I mean, their whole road had figure eight donuts.
And again, it's like a nice house.
Yeah, and the rubber on those tiller tires would just eat off. So it's like black lines. I'm doing figure eights, and that fucking go-kart caught, and it flipped me over. I hit my head on the concrete, and I ride it over, flip, and I went right back, took that go-kart apart, and put a dirt bike back together. I smacked the shit out of my head right in front of everybody. I jumped up real quick like I was okay. I was like, I'm okay. And I'm like, fuck.
Probably concussion.
Right.
But Jeremiah was there when that happened?
They were across the street. That was the last time I seen him.
But so you just stopped talking to this guy?
Ran, like, it's crazy.
He didn't keep calling you?
No.
It was like you both knew the friendship was over.
Right.
How long do you think you were hanging out with him? A few months or like a year?
Probably a year. Well, yeah.
So this would be before you moved to the hill, I guess, and started your drug empire, right?
Yep. I was just a little
weird.
dude. I was a little dude at that time.
I wonder where he's at today.
Oh gosh, I know where he's at. He's in the same house. I see him all the time.
What?
Yeah, I drive by there, like on that road. You know the road, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about. What house or where?
Yeah, I drive by there.
I want you to show me.
I will. And it's him for sure. I don't see him, but I can just see what's in the yard and how it's all put together. It's him, without a doubt.
Funny.
So he still lives there. He was bad. He was a cool dude, but he was fucking crazy. He was nuts.
Yeah.
I got some other stuff I could talk about, but I'm not going to. So that was when I was younger. My roommate from across the street. He had $130,000, and he asked me if I wanted to help him spend it. So we went partying for about a year, and after it was all over, we parted ways, and I left. So I got to help a guy spend $130,000 and show him a good time with his money. So
yeah,
that was good. But let's talk about something more legal, a little bit better. I just got back from my annual snowmobile trip with the Skaggs brothers, who you've already seen. My buddy Wesley Biddle and Justin May, my cousin that you've already seen. So I'm trying to get WB on here.
He'd be a good one.
He would be a good one. He's a real deal entrepreneur. Started from lawn mowing business.
He makes good money moves. He's smart.
Yeah, he went from a lawn mowing business to an electric company that has like 28 guys on storm out of state. So he made smart financial decisions. So Wesley, when you hear this, book your date because you're coming on. But we got back the other 2 nights ago. The flight back was rough. A couple of the guys, Chad and Phillip, they got stuck at the airport for about 24 hours. Ended up having to rent a car, drive like 6 hours, pay $2,000 a piece for a plane ticket to get home. So it was rough for them. Of course, I don't procrastinate. So I was on time. I made my flight.
It worked out, but you guys on your flight still had like a 6-hour delay in Chicago. Like we had looked up, because Jesse had to get back and get on this job that he's on. And so like I was looking up rental cars in Chicago because that was the layover to drive here, which is about 5 or 6 hour drive. And they all said none available. I'm like, there's no way there's no cars available. So I called the rental places. I didn't even tell you this. And they all, because we're from a small town, they're like, we don't have any one-way rental cars to your town. I'm like, What about Kentucky? What about Australia, like an hour distance from us? And they're like, no, ma'am, there is no cars leaving Chicago and getting stuck in your area. And I'm like, dang it.
We literally had to buy a whole fucking new truck because my original truck had blown out a injector or something. I was just having a hard time finding somebody to fix it right. And while it was in the shop.
This is like a year ago, not about the trip.
Yeah, this is like a year ago. So my truck's in the shop, and all mechanics were like 6 weeks out. So if you're mechanically inclined, that's a great trade.
Yes.
Because anytime I
diesel
call a
mechanics too, especially, but any mechanic.
Yeah, any mechanic.
They're booked up.
They're booked out for sure. So we went to rent a car, thinking while my truck's in the shop, we need to rent a car.
Which we've done in the past, years past, when one or two of our trucks had issues at the same time. We would rent a couple of vehicles to get by for a few weeks.
Right. So we went to Carbondale, got there, no cars. We started going to Paducah, which is a big area.
Bigger.
On the way there, they call and say there ain't no cars. 2 weeks. We could not find a car. We had to go buy a new truck just so I had a truck for 6 weeks while my truck was in the shop.
Yeah, because for some reason we didn't have. Sometimes we'll have a spare truck, but we didn't at that time.
Right.
Yeah, so Jesse got a new truck because he literally could not have a truck. That's why we talked about before, his current truck, we bought at a bad time. We only did that because he literally had to have a vehicle.
Right, and a nice one. I didn't want no piece of shit, so I got that Duramax.
But yeah, so the car rentals are rough, especially around here. I'm sure they had rentals available in the city, but they weren't willing to, they didn't have enough to let one get stuck in Southern Illinois.
Right.
That was the point, yeah. So like it's weird they haven't rebounded after COVID, the rental business.
Let's throw up a picture of my two trucks. I had them for a while. 6
together,
months, 8 years,
side by side.
So I had two of the matching trucks, one black, one white, for about 6 to 8 months until it just didn't make sense.
It was the best 6 to 8 months of Jesse's life.
God, I showed everybody. I'd be like, hey, you want to check out my jet boat? And as they'd open the door, I'd be like, oh, excuse me, we got to walk by these two Duramaxes here. And they weren't just regular Duramaxes. They were like tricked out.
So he finally sold the white truck.
Yeah.
Sadly.
It was worth it. She let me get a Ducati.
Yeah.
So it all works out.
But so you just got back from your trip. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
With your friends. All of Jesse's, I'd say most of your closest friends these days are also business owners.
Yeah.
Or just hardworking men. Like, you've definitely let go of any friends from your past, and you have for a long time, like since you got home. But I think that was important to kind of make new friends with people that were like-minded,
Right.
to kind of that encourage you and that you guys like support each other. And
That saying, show me your friends and I'll show you your future, is 100% real. I mean, if you hang out with people that don't have any aspirations or goals or anything, more than likely you're going to have the same attitude. If you hang out with people that are hard workers, have aspirations, and once I start hanging around the right crowd, then good things start happening. Not good, but it just, things got better and better because I'm not hanging around people that want to go break a window and get some drugs.
fight and act
yeah.
crazy. Even stuff like, I think, especially if you're in a serious relationship or married, all of our closest friends are also, not every single one, but a lot of them that are in relationships are pro that. Like, our friends that are married are happily married and put energy into their relationships, or even just long-term relationships. So like, our friends aren't cheating. They're not going out all the time without their spouse. They're not, and so I think that's healthy for your relationship too, to
Right.
be friends with people that have a similar goal and that like being married and like to have a good, positive relationship. And if you have problems, you can talk to those friends, and instead of them being like, oh, screw them, they're like, okay, let's look at the flip side, or how could you guys work this out or make it better?
Yeah. Now I'm of an age to where if you're cheating on your wife, then I don't need to be your friend, because your wife's supposed to be your best friend. So if you're cheating on her, what the hell do I want to hang out with you for?
Yeah,
So
I agree.
I do keep good people around me, good, honest people. Yeah, I don't have any buddies that are going out to the bars and, not taking care of their wives instead. So I got buddies that go to bars, but they're not bellied up to the bar every night.
Yeah.
But back to the entrepreneur as friends. One of my most youngest successful buddies is the best networker I've ever seen. He's a hard worker and he's really smart. But this guy knows everybody. And that's pretty much how I got to where I am, because I just run in, I'm doing a job. I run into a concrete crew, get their names, talk to them. That's how I met my buddy Josh. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, like I meet all kinds of cool people just on the job site. So my best man I met on the job site. So I think that helped, when I got home, all my friends switched to that.
Well, and I think it's easy on a job site with different types of trades working together. Like, sometimes people don't talk, or people think they're better than the other, or they are just too busy and too focused, and they're grouchy people and always in a bad mood, like, so they don't want to talk to people. And it's not like you have to be Mr. Friendly and talk to freaking everybody you meet for an hour. But you can make a connection and talk to people and get to know them.
Right.
And even like with excavation, you and I get along with every excavation company in our area. I can't think of anyone we have like bad blood with. Like,
No.
even though it's your competition technically, it's like you don't have to view it like that.
Right.
Like, there's plenty of work, and if you should be confident enough in your work that it's that good that these people aren't your competition.
Right.
Like, they're going to win some jobs over you, vice versa, but like,
Right. And more than
doesn't-
likely, if they win it, then if you're already hooked up with them and you talk to them, then they might call you and say, hey, I got this job. It's a little too big for my crew. If you could sub this. So the more networking you do, the better.
and build that relationship where, yeah, like we do that a lot when we're just so booked out, and customers need us to get there sooner. Like, Jesse's knows people that he knows will put out quality work that he can refer and be like, I would call this guy or call them both, and get a quote from both, because I just can't make it. Or he would just say, I'm going to send so-and-so in my place. I know they'll do as good of a job as, they'll do what I tell them to do. And
Luckily, we've got my cousin Justin. So if I sub work, if I'm too busy and I need sub work, I know he does honest work. He does good work. So I feel safe. But like Lesa was saying, I've got 3 or 4 other buddies that also do excavation that I could call and say, hey, do you want to pick up this job? And they more than likely would.
And a lot of them are people that we met through working in the business. Like, these aren't people we knew like before. It's because of the work we do. So we've just crossed paths with them over time. And that's definitely been beneficial. And the different trades, like you said, like, so meeting concrete guys or carpenters,
Or
yeah, anybody.
iron workers. Matt, that was on, but his episode wouldn't load up. Poor guy.
So it got messed up. It was really good.
He's going to come back on. So in a few weeks, we'll have Iron Worker on. I think he's an iron worker.
He's a pile driver and welder.
Okay.
Is what he had said on the episode. But he travels for that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just good because then you get referral business from that. So like, it's same with us. So like, but if we have a guy that's a carpenter buddy that we've got to know just a little bit, they know we do good work, or they're a concrete guy, then their customer needs to kind of work they don't do. Well, they're giving them our number. Right. So like, you're building this network of referrals through trusted business people. And so it's just good to make sure you build those relationships and get to know people and don't just stay in your own little bubble.
Don't think everybody's your enemy just because you both have a tractor. I mean, I get so much help from moving tractors. That's a crane company. We don't have a low boy because for us, it doesn't make sense to have a low boy annual permit, tires, driver, oil changes to move the tractors 7 times a year. So what we do is I've got another buddy who owns a crane company, and they do heavy haul, so they haul our big tractors, and that's just networking. And then we've got a rock guy that we use. It's just just throughout the business you'll meet it, but networking's important. It gets people because we get overloaded sometimes. Sometimes we'll be 6 months, 8 months booked out, so I hate turning people away. Yeah. But having this good network of all of the people in the area that do it, when they call, I hate to turn them away, but I'll say, we're booked out 6 months, but I talked to this company. They're good. They have a little bit of availability, so call them. And
like building that relationship, sorry to cut you off, but with like the suppliers, like we've gotten jobs from the culvert company, because people are in there pricing culverts, but they need someone to actually do the job. So it's like getting to know your suppliers is helpful because they'll, whether it's the equipment rental place or I don't even know, the guy you get your straw from. I mean, it could be anything. If you're a carpenter, the paint store, just getting to know people more than just the business transaction. And again, we don't have time to go chat for 30 minutes with everybody, but you can be personable and chat and get to know the people you're dealing with because it'll be repeat. So it's nice to be able to call to quote something and know the guy I'm talking to and be like, hey, Joe, hey, Matt, it's Lesa, and then it's just better than it feeling like a stranger to the people that you're working with a lot over and over again. And like I said, then they can send you business as well.
Right. And networking is one thing. Another thing is also don't be too big of a pushover trying to keep everybody happy, in a sense that if you're doing something right and it's right. For me, I'm like studying everything all day, wherever I'm at. I know every nook and cranny. It's just how my head works. So every day, if I do have a customer and they do try to get, want me to come back and fix something that's not me, not my fault. I've had people pull in people's yards after I got done doing a yard job, and they call me mad that there's a car rut in their yard. That's not my job to keep people out of the yard after the yard's installed. So just the contract, but just be not an asshole, just be stern.
And direct. You're good at that.
And honest. So since I remember everything, and I usually do paper trail with the contract, people will always try, not always, but people have tried to push over on different things. Can you do this? Well, if I do that, now it's cost me $100 or $200 an hour to do this that wasn't agreed upon. So I'll just be stern, direct. This is what we agreed upon. It's line itemed, but it doesn't have a line item price. It's a full figure at the bottom, and that's just how I do it. So I could see if I was a pushover, because people will take advantage of you.
They'll try.
Yeah, there's all walks of life. You're going to run into those people. So I have ran into people that would try to take advantage of me, and
You're incredibly good at that. I am not. So I'm a people pleaser, and
yes, she is.
I'm a people pleaser, and luckily Jesse's not. So Jesse gives great customer service. He likes to make people happy. He does excellent work. But he does not let people walk over him. And I think that is like a delicate dance that I think you have to kind of learn, where you don't want to be a jerk and you want to keep your customers happy, but you also can't let them run you over. Right. So you are incredibly good at that. Not even just customers, even with dealing with, we've had issues with people who've repaired some of our tractors that did a horrible job or just anything,
God, do you remember the city councilman?
Oh,
I was so direct with that guy. I don't like bullies. So if you try to bully me or any of my people or my friends, I take it pretty personal. I remember when we built our first shop, we moved out, we bought 5 acres, we built a shop. And this guy that was like 300 feet away, there's trees in between me and him. He's standing out in his cul-de-sac with his hands on his hips as I'm building a barn. I'm building a shop, and it was a beautiful.
It was going to be like a half pole barn house, half shop. That was the plan for the shop because we had a goal to get on this land and build a home down the road. But in the meantime, we were going to live in a quarter of the shop and then have a barn dominium, and then have our equipment shop on the other half was what we were working on this land.
So I'm out there working, minding my own business. I look over, there's a guy standing in the road. He's got his hands on his hips. I can tell by his demeanor, he's pissed off. I'm like, oh, what have I done? I just got here, I've only owned the land for a few months. So I walk over all nice. Can I help you? It seems to be the problem. He went off on me. You think I want to wake up every day and look at that fucking red barn? And I'm like, I look over and it's beautiful. It's got a black
nice
roof,
new
black trim. It was brand new. I mean, it looked good. And I'm like, what barn are you talking about? And he's like, that barn. He was so mad. He was spitting fire and cussing at me. And I said, you don't want to see that barn over there? And when I looked, like the trees covered pretty much all the barn. You could just see like little pieces of it, behind the trees. And I said, you don't want to see that barn over there? And he's cussing me and this and that. And I said, all right, just give me a minute. And I went over, I got on our Traco and took out every tree between my place and his to where it was just open, straight view. I got off the Traco and I was like, is this what you want? Is this what you want? Don't come cussing me, buddy. Because it's my land. I paid taxes on it. I mean, we had so much trouble with that land. They called the Army Corps of Engineers on us.
Yeah.
Because
People
of this
nuts,
barn.
Man.
It was nuts.
We even... it's kind of funny. It was during COVID, I guess, because there was like a city council meeting that was... you had to like log in through Zoom or something. You couldn't actually go to the meeting. But we had gotten approval for this pole barn house. And then it took us longer than we planned to get it going because life and COVID and everything else going on.
You got pregnant.
And I got pregnant and then we had a baby. So then we're like, we're going to have to add another
Our plans
room.
changed,
Yeah. So it's just, that's life, right? And so we asked for an extension on completing the pole barn house. And it had to go to vote at city council in our little town. And this one alderman called me.
The one over our area, right?
There were two. There's two over each like section of town. One called me and nicely was just asking some questions. I kind of knew him a little bit personally, so it wasn't a big deal that he called me. He already had my number. And was just asking like what our plan was, what had changed. So I explained all that. And he's like, okay, that makes sense to me. You guys are a small business in our community. Like, we're giving back. We were filling up our tractors at the time because we didn't have a fuel tank at our local gas pumps, which that money goes back into gas tax. Like, we are giving back. We donate to the, different fundraisers in the town. We're a good community member, I thought. So we're not some fly-by-night company.
All the other aldermen liked us.
Yeah, but then, so that was the first guy that called. So then he's like, well, the other guy in our territory wanted to talk to you about this too. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. He can call me or Jesse. It doesn't matter. And I don't know this other guy. So I get this call from this other guy, alderman, and he's just furious. I mean, he starts off the conversation. I felt like my father was reprimanding me. I felt like a 16-year-old kid that just got in trouble. And I'm like a grown woman with a baby, like, and a husband. I'm like, what is happening? And me being a people pleaser, I was like mortified and terrified and like didn't even know what to say because I'm like shocked that this grown man's yelling at me and like acting like we're some weird like criminals. He's like, I don't know. It was weird. He was like yelling at me, putting us down, acting like we were scheming something. And I'm like, dude, we just need more time. We had a child, COVID hit. We've had a lot of things shuffle around. We're trying to work this out. He was a total jerk. He was all hot and heated talking to me. And so we got off the phone and I called Jesse and I'm like upset. I'm like, dude, this guy just that I don't even know just chewed me out and like freaked out about this pole barn building. So
say less. I went over, I got hot. So we had a meeting that night, the city meeting. It was that same day. Yeah,
where the aldermen all had to vote on extending our permit. So we were able to be present via phone call because it wasn't in person at this time. Go ahead. Do you want me to finish?
Go ahead.
So Jesse and I called into the meeting and before they voted, they're like, do you want to say anything about your permit request? Jesse, and I love you for this because you're such a good husband. Like, Jesse's not a hothead, but he will defend his family or his friends or anyone that's loyal to him. And I don't even remember what exactly you said. I think you were like, we told him
I
the
gave
point.
him a tongue lash.
We told him the point and why we needed the extension. And then Jesse said,
I told him, I said his name, and I said, if you ever need to call somebody, you call me, don't call my wife. And he was like, well, her number's on the permit too. And I said, you chose to call the female. I was like, you ever having a fucking issue, you call me and we'll fucking deal with it. Hey, I was pissed. It's all in the minutes. Like,
so no, what's funny is, so then they all voted yes to approve our extension.
even the guy that I got on his ass, he was like, he said no before we even started voting. He was no, he's talking shit, trying to, because he started
trying to
off.
convince the other alderman to vote no.
Yeah, that's where he started off, and I stopped him. Remember, he was.
Yeah, you're like, by the way,
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, I was like, just
But-
person I want to talk to. And boy, whenever I got done, he knew I was pissed and I was serious.
He
Like,
knew he was in the wrong.
Yeah,
And
but he was in the wrong.
It's not that a woman can't stand up for themselves, but it's the point that he knew what he was doing. He called me
yeah.
aggressively. He didn't call me normal like the first guy. And so he wouldn't have called you like that. So he looked at this permit, saw me and you, and said, I'm going to call her and be aggressive and a jerk.
Right.
But in the minutes, the actual city official minutes, it says like something along the lines of like, and then Jesse May verbally reprimanded Alderman so-and-so for calling his wife and da-da-da-da. And it was so funny because they have to record everything you say in those
Right.
meetings. And so there's like a record of Jesse like, it's not reprimanded, but it was like a word like that.
I think it was.
It may have been.
Yeah.
But it's the truth. People are jerks. So even though Jesse was stern with that guy, you weren't a jerk. You didn't cuss him out.
Right.
You didn't fly off the handle. You were still professional.
And when I got done, he felt like he was a little kid getting talked to by his dad.
Right.
So, but, and
That
then afterwards, we had like 2 or 3 of the other aldermen message us
And call. And they're like,
and
that
call
jerk.
and say, "Oh my God, that was so good. We love that." Like,
'Cause the guy was
we
a
knew
jerk.
everybody.
The guy
We know
was a
everybody.
jerk.
Yeah, they were a jerk, and they were like, "He is a jerk," and that was good. Like they
Yeah.
called us personally on our phones afterwards, and they were like, "Woo, that was good."
Yeah.
So be stern, be direct, know what you're talking about. Obviously,
And do good work. If you do mess up and do a crappy job, then
own up to it.
Own up to it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not there yet, you're not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
So if I do a bad job, then I own up to it. But
And I think I was just talking to these carpenters today that I met with about that building we were looking at fixing up. You have to be direct about your workload. So if you're bidding jobs and you can't get there for 4 months or 8 months, you have to tell people that, and that's okay. People will wait for quality work, but if you act like, oh yeah, I can be there next week, and then you just blow them off and you're vague and
You get
you
a bad
come for a
name.
day and then you don't come back for 3 months, like that is so bad, and you're gonna get a bad reputation. But like if you were just honest and say, and yeah, you might lose out on a couple jobs, but people will wait for quality work.
I've had people call, like last year, we're over a year booked out. So I had multiple people call, and I would say, "I'm sorry, we're a year booked out. You know, we can't do anything else right now. We're overloaded." And they would say, "That's okay. Just put me on your books." And I'm like, a year later, and they're like, "Yeah." They're like, "I heard so much good stuff about you, and you're the one we want to use." And I'm like, "Okay." So we put them on our books and got them in a year.
But you just got to be honest and legit. And if it's something that you can't do, I mean, I think you just got to be honest with people. If you got to say, I don't really specialize in this part of what you need, so I'm going to call in someone else. Like, I'll do this portion.
Yeah.
I'm going to have some, like, just be upfront with
Like
people.
concrete work.
People aren't unreasonable.
We don't do concrete work. We do dirt work. So I think I could do concrete work. I've been around it enough that I see how the concrete finishers do it. I've got buddies that are concrete finishers. But
But they're
if
the
there's
best at it.
concrete
They're
work,
specialized.
they do it every day. So if there's a part of the job, you know, I'm a general contractor. So if there's a part of the job that's concrete, then I sub it out to the concrete guys because they do it every day. They're the professional. I'm not. Same with like if we're in town and I can't get a tree down, you know, I'll call the tree guys. If I got to take a tree down with a tractor and it's, you know, right up against a house and I can't do it, you know, I've got buddies in all walks of life. We sub that out, and that's what you want to do.
And look at it before you start and try to make those decisions when you bid it. That way you know what the cost is going to be and you're not like tacking stuff on at the end because
Right.
you don't ever want to do that.
I'll get quotes. Like if I go to look at a job, there's a couple trees by the house, and I have my tree guy go out there, look at it, give me an honest quote, not just say, well, he's usually, $500.
Right,
So
you can never
I'll make it
guess.
$750 because then it might be $1250, and you're like, damn. So
It's another way, like, and I don't want to like heavily promote this because we've never actually done this, but I see the benefit in it. There are groups in most areas. They're called BNI, and it's like a networking group. So if you're starting out and you really don't know a lot of people in your area, like we're lucky we already knew a lot of people, so we didn't ever really join one. We were lucky that we could just, through friends and making connections outside of a designated group, we were able to grow our business. But I do know lots of contractor friends that when they first got into their trade, and we're putting out good work because, but it's like a referral group that you have to pay to be in. And you have to refer people to the people in your group. It's like a little club. You meet once a week and like there's little tasks you do.
you ain't got to do that shit.
You don't have to do that. But it is a good option for people that really don't know anyone and they need to get their name out. I've heard contractors tell me like that they grew their business, whether it was insurance sales, roofers, plumbers, remediation, through that group, and then they didn't stay in it forever because they didn't really need it anymore, but it got them going. And so I don't think if you don't have a good group of people and you're trying to get away from old friends and make new friends, that's a good way to meet other business owners and insurance agents and different people you might be able to utilize in your work. So I do, although it is expensive, so I mean just look into it on your own time, and we never did it, but I know people that did and it helped. So I think that's a good resource for people because I think they're all over the country. So
we went the old-fashioned way. We sponsored on Facebook. Back when we started, we could sponsor on Facebook for like $50, and it would reach so many people.
yeah.
But now $50 on a sponsored ad on Facebook reaches like $5. It's
and what
crazy.
that is, and that's the thing too with Facebook. I recommend. I see some people make their business page as like it's a person that you have to like add the friend.
Right.
I don't think that's the way.
Get an actual business page.
So if you have and we should have asked Chad how he does that because he doesn't have Facebook, but he has a business page.
Right.
So we will have a personal Facebook account for ourselves, and then you can create a business page. That can be all your business stuff, and it's easy to toggle back and forth. But so what you do is you make a post advertising a service or sharing, photos and what you're wanting, what kind of jobs you're wanting. And then you like boost it after you post it. And then you select how much money you want to spend, your geographic area. I think you can even select demographics like male, female,
we would do
targeted age.
We would do our friends and their friends when we started out.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. So like it would be my friends list and all my friends list it would just cover so many people
of different, you can select, and then the price will fluctuate, but that's a good way to get your name out there. And even on Google, like on search engines. So like Google, and even I had read once, and we did this, I think it's Bing.com is a search engine that I read that older people use a lot.
Okay.
So it's good to sponsor your website on there when they search for stuff because it's a different generation of people you're reaching.
Get on the AOL. All the people are on there.
But you can, and it's not as hard as you think. Like I couldn't tell you how to do it off the top of my head, even though I've done it. But you can go in Google, and it's like doing SEO, which search engine optimization, which there's companies that you can pay to do that, and they can do a great job with it. But if you're just trying to get your web page up there and your name to pop up sooner, Google's pretty easy to sit down for a couple hours and tool around with it and figure it out. And then that way your name pops up. And then the more reviews you get, like encourage your customers to give reviews. Like you can even send them a link to your Google page or your Facebook page and just say like, hey, if you were happy with your work, if you could please leave me a review, we appreciate it.
I always tell them, I like how you said that, but that's not how I phrase it. I always say, please give us a review with your experience. I don't care if you're happy or if you're mad, but I don't say happy with your work, do it. I say, if you don't mind, give us a review with your experience. They're always good.
I know.
Obviously,
I think it's good to say if you're unhappy, let me know and we'll fix it.
Right.
If you had a good experience, put it on the internet. But
yeah,
I know it's good to say it, and it's better. That's what Chad does. I think he like he'll send a link to each customer he did to us and be like, if you were happy with your work, like
nice.
Leave me a review. Chad's good at that.
Right.
We'll have to have him back on and talk about all that.
Right.
He's good.
For
Better at it than I am.
So we use Facebook to promote, to get started. After a couple of years, they were all new customers, and then we start having repeat customers. Then we start having family members. Yeah, referrals. You worked for my aunt. So it got to where we weren't having to sponsor anything at all. That's for residential work.
Yeah.
And we were just constantly getting calls. So now we've switched to the commercial, which we still do residential, but we do more commercial now. So in the future, we're going to have Real Life Luke on, which is our producer. He's an entrepreneur too. He does producing for the podcast and video editing and different stuff like that. We found his name on Google or.
Do you know what? That's a networking thing. I found him because I did this. There's a business incubator, I'll call it, in Marion called Ethos, and they do different like lunch and learns and like book club type things. And so I did like a Smart Women Finish Rich book club with some great women from Farmers Bank. And so that's the only reason I knew about this Ethos group. And then I knew they had a podcast, and when we were starting, we're like lost. And I'm like, I'm going to email.
Could you imagine if we wouldn't have got Real Life Luke?
No, it would have been so, it never would have launched. It never would have got out. But I emailed the owner of Ethos and was like, I know you have this podcast. Can I either come sit in, or can I meet your producer, or who's doing all the back end work for you? And he hooked us up with Union Street Arts, which is Luke owns that. So that's another like networking thing. Because I took time to do this little book thing and try to do better with our money and meet these great women in our area, I was able to meet the owner of this other business who hooked us up with our producer. I mean, we were lost. We didn't know what we were going to do.
Because though he's our producer, there's a lot he hasn't told us. So we'll have to have him on. So I've got other buddies, other businessmen, associates that want to come on. And just mainly I'm looking entrepreneur, get out there, make your own money if that's what you want. I don't know if you don't want it. Just listen for the hell of it. But.
And also success stories. Like we know several people that might not own their own business, but they went from living a pretty crappy lifestyle, of whether it was addiction or drinking or, just they didn't set their bar very high. And then they changed their mindset, and now they have a great family life and a great career, and like just those kind of people that can show you that you don't have to be stuck where you are, that you can choose to live a better life. And that's not always owning your own business. That's not for every single person. Right. But so we have,
you might just be doing stocks on your own or who knows what. And
so many different things.
So yeah, we're going to have a lot of new people on. Obviously, I want to keep having my wife on. I think her content's great. I think we work good together. So if you agree with me, let us know.
It's fun. I had no intention of being on here at the beginning of this, so it's funny. I've been on so often, but.
Well, it helps that you're beautiful, so.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So anyways, let us know what we could improve on, what we couldn't, and we'll go from there. But we'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Reckless success. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up. You can follow us on TikTok and YouTube at reckless.success, Instagram at recklesssuccess. We're on Spotify and all major podcast services. Hit that subscribe button, please. For more information on May Excavating, check out our website or TikTok. That's a wrap. Thanks.